Hey everyone. Today we're talking about handling difficult conversations. I feel like many of us have been there, and most especially in the beginning of your career as a new or aspiring manager. Certainly for me, it was the case where handling difficult conversations was not the easiest thing. But over time, what I really gained are some principles or rules or a framework, dare I say, that I really followed, and it really helped me be successful with those conversations 95+% of the time. I'd first like to share a story. Let's keep all parties anonymous. Let's call the manager Nicole, and let's call Nicole's direct report Marty. So Nicole and Marty were having issues. And it seemed anytime that Nicole asked Marty to do something at work, there was an issue, there was a problem, there was some attitude being given. And so Nicole decided that she and Marty needed to sit down to have a conversation because she wanted to get to the bottom of what was really going on. If there were changes that needed to take place, something that she needed to do differently, a different approach that she needed to implement, Nicole was willing to do that. So she prepared for this discussion. She wanted to be able to explain right away what the issue was, what she was feeling, and she wanted to be able to pinpoint some examples. She planned for the meeting. She practiced what she wanted to say. She scheduled a meeting, and the meeting took place. During the meeting, Marty and Nicole gained some really easy understandings. There had been some misconceptions. Some of the things were misunderstood, and they both walked away from the meeting understanding each other a lot better and having a plan for moving forward to avoid some of that tension that was unnecessarily created moving forward. So hooray for Nicole, right? But we want to be Nicole. We want to be Nicole all the time. And if we can't be Nicole all the time when it's time to master or handle a difficult conversation, we do want to be 95+% of the time what Nicole just demonstrated. I am going to show you how to get there in 5 easy steps. These are the principles, the rules, that dreaded word, that framework that I follow that has really always helped me in managing difficult conversations. So let's get to it. So the first thing that you'll want to do, step number 1, when getting ready to handle or manage any sort of difficult conversations, is to schedule regular one-on-one meetings. This is something that I talk about a lot. You can certainly determine based on your industry how frequently those one-on-ones need to be. For me, I generally sit in a ballpark of bi-weekly and not going any further out than that. But again, based on your industry, the work of your team, it might need to be just a monthly meeting. Of course, depending on how many team members report to you, how important the projects are that you're working on, et cetera, you can make that determination. If this is something that you didn't do when you first took over your team, you certainly can schedule it right now. You can start that process right now. Let your team know you're going to set up regular one-on-ones, tell them the why and what they can expect from it. Let them know what some of the benefits will be. And this way they can prepare themselves as well for this regular cadence of meetings that they will now be having with you. So regular one-on-ones is an important piece to handling difficult conversations. So the question of why comes to mind. Why set this step up? And the easy reason is because regularly scheduled one-on-ones allow you to start building that relationship early with the person, long before there is a tough conversation that needs to be had. It allows you to meet with them on that regular basis so that you're getting to know them and you're able to connect with them better and more often. What the one-on-one will do is so that when there is time to give that constructive feedback or make a correction, that person, it will just be a regular part of how you've handled meetings. So they know that they get great feedback from you in these meetings. They can ask questions, and they also get some of the mistakes that they made, and you help them to correct those and move forward in a more positive way. If these meetings aren't in place, when there's a mistake to be had, there's a little bit of dread because a person will say, oh my goodness, now my manager has scheduled a meeting for me and this probably isn't good. So there's a bit of tension around the fact that now there's this scheduled meeting and it probably isn't good. What those regular one-on-ones do additionally to help you build a lot of trust with your team, and again, to establish those really strong connections so that people have a sense of calm when it's time to meet with you. So the one-on-ones as the first step is my suggestion. The second step is to have the meeting. I can never say that enough. Don't avoid the situation. Don't ignore whatever the issue or the problem is, because most of the time it will not go away and often it will only get worse. So what you'll want to do when having the meeting is go ahead and prepare. Plan what it is you want to cover. You can actually write out a script. There have been some meetings that I've had that were difficult conversations where I thought really sort of writing out my thoughts or building an actual outline of what you want to discuss, how you want to say things, what sort of way do you want the meeting to flow, so what your points are and in the order that you want to talk about the points. This can really be done with a really great outline. And so you'll start with something in that outline, just to make it simple, clearly stating whatever the issue is. You want to get that out right off top. And then after you discuss what the issue is, you'll want to provide specific examples of whatever the issue is. So yesterday you worked on 3 items and 3 of those customers filed complaints about X, Y, and Z. Here's what happened on the item, and this is what should have happened and could have helped to avoid the situation. For the past 3 days, I noticed that you have been late with each of your deadlines. Whatever it is, you just want to provide those specific examples so that a person can understand very clearly what it is that they're doing that's not aligned with expectations. Then you'll want to ask the employee for their thoughts. What is it that they think about the issue that you've stated and the examples that you've provided? Allow the employee to share what their thoughts are. Once that has taken place, there might need to be a little bit of conversation, but often you can go right into presenting whatever plan you've created. This doesn't need to be something super elaborate, but whatever the plan is to help that direct report avoid this issue moving forward, present that. And then as the final step of your outline, you can just know that you are going to check in. So you can check in for understanding at the very end of the meeting, and then you can periodically continue to check in as you continue to meet with this team member one-on-one to ensure they understand what's expected of them, and that if they do have any questions, that you're available to answer those questions at that time. So for this step, having the meeting, the question may come, well, why have the meeting? Why plan? And so the reason that you do this is because even for managers, just as I was talking about an employee who could be nervous or there could be some sort of anxiety created, for the manager, you could be nervous, you could be on edge about the meeting. And so planning it and having an outline or having some sort of scripting for the points that you want to say can really help you to stay on track so that as you get in that meeting, you're sure to cover the things that are really important and fight back any sort of nervousness that you may have as the manager going into this difficult conversation. So planning and outline and scripting can be greatly beneficial. The third step is to practice what you want to say. And yes, I do mean practice aloud. If you like to stand in front of the mirror, or if you just like to stand in your bedroom and sort of speak aloud, again, following this outline that you've created, following that script that you've created, you'll really just want to speak it aloud, which will better help you to prepare for this conversation that's to be had. As you practice what you want to say, if you're standing in front of the mirror, take a look at your face and just take note of, as you're speaking the things that you want to say, how does your face look? You want to be sure you don't have a look of disgust on your face or that you're not frowning. You'll want to stay very calm, very welcoming as you're delivering this message so you can be sure that you communicate exactly what you want your direct report to hear, feel, and understand. So you may have the question, well, why do this? Why practice what I want to say? Because practice equals better. When you're able to practice, again, it allows you to have that comfort as you're entering this meeting because you know what you want to say, but it also keeps you on track for emphasizing the points that are really important to the conversation. But you also allow yourself to practice being concise. You want to deliver this in a concise manner and not go on and on or talk longer than necessary to get your point across. So practicing can really help you to narrow down the time frame while being sure to communicate those really important pieces. The fourth step is to create a plan. You'll want to give your team members something that they can lean on moving forward. This typically doesn't need to be an elaborate plan unless you're covering something pretty major, following up on several conversations. But for the typical difficult conversation, you just want to give a plan to help that team member improve in moving forward. So whether it's a quick 1, 2, 3 steps to avoiding this mistake going forward, you'll want to be sure to communicate that during this difficult conversation and actually give them some sort of written follow-up that they can take with them to refer back to. So the question may arise, why do I need to create this plan and give my direct report a plan? Well, it's because you want to demonstrate that you support your team. You want to show that you're giving them, when you're giving the constructive feedback, that you're also providing them with steps that they can actually take to improve whatever it is that needs to be corrected. And then the final thing, when you create a plan and then you follow that up by sending something to them via email, is you create the documentation that is standard for being a great manager. You're documenting what your process was and you're documenting what you provided to that team member so that they can actually do the job better. The final step is to check in on the progress of your team member and of course to always leave space for follow-up questions. Now, typically, your regularly scheduled one-on-ones will create that space automatically for you, so it wouldn't be something that you would need to go out of your way to create. However, what you do want to do is be sure that these meetings are not just for your team member. It's not just set up so that as you follow up on and check in on whatever this difficult conversation was about, it's not just about making sure that they're doing the job right and that they have the chance to ask you questions, but it gives you the chance to ask them questions. How are they feeling? Do they have any follow-up questions or thoughts? Again, this is all about just creating that space so that there can be a mutual check-in between you and your team member. Let's recap those steps. You'll schedule a regular one-on-one meeting to master difficult conversations. You'll meet, don't avoid the conversation. Practice. If you need to write a script or an outline, practice what you like to say and then plan. Create a plan to help your team member improve. Check in to make sure progress is being made and continue addressing questions and concerns. These are the steps that lead you to being a tough talk master. Keep practicing and following this model to further develop your skills. Those are our 5 easy steps to handling difficult conversations. If you like this content, if you find it useful, then please subscribe to the channel and like this video and tell us, how do you plan on handling your next difficult conversation? Will you implement any of these steps to improve your outcomes? We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching today, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay practical and lead better.